This tutorial is all about neutralization of acids using bases, here insoluble bases, and also by using carbonates. Here the yellow content from the syllabus is that which is only on the foundation paper, the white content is on the foundation and higher paper, but this tutorial is specifically for people doing foundation level. So what are bases? Bases are metal oxides and hydroxides, and there's an exception which is ammonium hydroxide or ammonia, which doesn't contain a metal. And many bases are insoluble. The common example that you need to know is copper oxide, this black powder. Copper oxide, or copper 2 oxide as it's known, doesn't react very well with cold acid, but when the acid is heated up it will dissolve in the acid to form a salt and water. If the copper oxide is reacted with sulfuric acid, this will make copper 2 sulfate plus water. With hydrochloric acid, it will make copper 2 chloride plus water, pardon my writing, and with nitric acid it will make copper 2 nitrate plus water. So generally the reaction is very similar. The only difference is the name of the salt depends upon the name of the acid, but generally speaking a base plus an acid gives a salt plus water. Here's a past exam question. It's not a complete question, so parts of it won't make a great deal of sense, but Sally put some calcium oxide onto some soil in plot D. The calcium oxide reacts with the nitric acid in the soil. Here's the word equation for the reaction. What are the names of the products in the reaction? Well, the products are those things which come after the arrow. So it's calcium nitrate and water. Carbonates are another substance which neutralize acids, but carbonates aren't bases. Bases, by definition, will neutralize an acid to make a salt and water only, but when a carbonate reacts with an acid, it will make a salt, water, and also carbon dioxide. So if we want to complete these equations, sodium carbonate and sulfuric acid would give us sodium sulfate plus water plus carbon dioxide. Calcium carbonate and hydrochloric acid, well, that would give us the salt which would be called calcium chloride, and also would give us water and also carbon dioxide. So generally speaking, a carbonate plus an acid gives a salt plus water plus carbon dioxide. An acid reacts with a carbonate, a salt and water are made. A gas is also made. Write down the name of this gas. Well, given the choices there, the answer would be carbon dioxide. Another skill you must have is to be able to predict the name of the salt produced when you're given a named base or carbonate and a named acid, limited to these 4 acids. So, nitric acid always makes a salt, which is a nitrate. Sulfuric acid makes a salt, which is a sulfate. Hydrochloric makes a chloride, and phosphoric makes a phosphate. So the clue really is in the name. So for example, nit, sulf, sulf, chlor, phos, phos. And salt would be made when copper oxide reacts with sulfuric acid. Well, here, the first part of the name would be from the copper 2 oxide, the base, so it would be copper 2 something. And the second part of the name comes from the acid, so it's sulfuric acid, so it would be sulfate. The answer would be copper 2 sulfate. 3 more questions. Well, which salts would be made here? Well, potassium hydroxide and nitric acid. First part of the name would be potassium. And the second part from the nitric acid would be nitrate. Second question. Here we've got phosphoric acid and sodium hydroxide. They're the other way around this time. So here we'd get sodium phosphate. And the third one, well, the third one here we have copper oxide, or copper 2 oxide, and hydrochloric acid. So here we'd have copper, to be strictly correct, copper 2 chloride. Similar idea, this time with acids and carbonates. In the first case, we've got calcium carbonate and hydrochloric acid. So that one's going to give us calcium chloride. In the second case, we've got sodium carbonate and sulfuric acid. That's going to make us sodium sulfate. And in the final one, we've got phosphoric acid and calcium carbonate. These are the other way around now, so that's going to give us calcium phosphate. Exam question. John makes some sodium chloride. He uses sodium hydroxide and an acid. The name of the acid then to make a chloride here would be hydrochloric acid. And our last set of questions. Copper oxide reacts with dilute sulfuric acid. It makes copper sulfate and one other product. Well, here we've got a base reacting with an acid. It's going to make a salt, and the other product is water. Copper oxide reacts with dilute nitric acid to make a salt. What's the name of the salt here? Well, it'd be copper, and from the nitric acid, nitrate. So the answer here would be copper, strictly copper 2 nitrate, although the 2 wasn't given in the question. And finally, copper carbonate reacts with dilute nitric acid. It makes a gas. What's the name of this gas? Well, here, copper carbonate reacts with an acid to make a salt, water, and of course, carbon dioxide.